Memento mori, Stewart whispered the phrase to himself over and over as he picked both of his bags. The first was his gym bag, which he would be utilising this morning. The second was his medicine bag, which he would use later tonight. Once both bags were packed, he mixed his pre-workout blend to enhance his gym session, slung his gym bag over his shoulder, and walked out his bedroom. The brilliant sunshine hurt his eyes as he emerged from the poorly lit sanctuary he called his room. As he closed and locked his front door, the wind picked up and rustled the door. Squinting, he looked up at the sky. A bird of some sort circled his garden. He imagined it to be a bird of prey, looking for a meal to swoop down and capture. This thought made him smile. What a life such a bird must live, taking life as when it sees fit. The drive to the gym followed the same routine every day, with hardcore rock thumping from the speakers to rile him up. Once completed, more routine followed, with a shower and protein shake while getting dressed. The drive home would be the complete opposite of the previous trip, as Stewart would listen to softer soul music and take in the beautiful trees that lined the roads. Often he would even give $1 or $2 to a homeless person that would come tapping on his window for change. Humans are creatures of habit, and Stewart is no different. The only difference in the routine of the day would be the night festivities of this particular evening. Most nights he would cook dinner, eat in front of the television, and then proceed to watch more television in his bedroom. Tonight, however, was the 42nd Thursday of the year, an arbitrary fact to most, but not to Stewart. Tonight was his night to indulge, just as he let out the maniac in himself on the drive to gym. Tonight was the night he let the maniac out, loose on the world. People do not change much from youth to adulthood. Some maturity occurs, but the general character and behaviour of the individual remains. Stewart had always wanted to help the world, at least in a way that he saw fit. As a youth, this involved cleansing his neighbourhood of stray dogs and cats. He took no actual pleasure in the act, no more so than a postman would rejoice delivering mail. He simply felt it was something to be done. As he did it over the years, his method of euthanization had evolved from bludgeoning the animals to squeezing their necks until he heard the sick pop of confirmation that the neck had broken. But as all things in life evolve, so did his target for cleansing. Stewart had grown to realize that in order to cleanse the world, it was not dogs and cats that needed to be cleaned. It was the people. The people were the sickness. 41 Thursdays before the chosen night meant that he knew exactly what he was doing. He planned out his routines, as well as who his patients would be. Access to the sick was yet more proof that people cared not one bit about the sick. Throughout the course of his planning, he would walk into various hospitals. Talking to the nurses, he would gain the knowledge of whether they would still be in need of his services when the glorious night came. The ease and success of his planning was yet more proof given to him from God that this was indeed his mission in life. He worked from home as an architect, but Stewart had always wanted to be a doctor. He may not have the qualifications, but the work he did was equally as important. The only difference that Stewart saw between himself and traditional doctors were the clothes they wore. His choice of dress for the task at hand was a heavy overcoat paired with an authentic 1620s plague mask. After all, he couldn't risk getting the sicknesses. Once home from the gym, Stewart cooked and ate before taking a nap in preparation for the big night. He set an alarm for midnight, but the excitement for the evening woke him up 15 minutes before the scheduled time. He lay in his bed in the dark for a moment. He felt at peace in the dark. He looked around in the darkness at the outlines of the furniture in his room. His light breathing was the only sound around him. He flexed his toes and arched his back to stretch the sleep away. He sat up straight in the darkness. Stewart was ready to begin his night of work. Memento mori, he proclaimed to the darkness. The patrons of St. Barnabas ward, that for the mentally ill, were long asleep by the time the wind blew Stewart through the doors. He had his medicine bag in hand and the plague mask on as he sat beside his first patient. He never rushed the process. Each patient was as important and deserving as the next. Stewart picked up the patient chart and read the name out loud. James, I absolve you of your sins. May God have mercy on your soul. Memento mori. And with that, Stewart inserted the needle deep into the arm of sleeping James. The pancuronium bromide slowly left the syringe and set to work causing powerless and respiratory arrest. This method of cleansing was the best Stewart had found prior to this. He had held a pillow over the face of his patients. He moves from patient to patient with the obvious speed of a very experienced executioner. As he injects the saving liquid into his last patient, her eyes suddenly shoot open and stare into the hollow eye sockets of the mask. Memento mori, Stewart tells her as she looks at him in confusion. All she manages out is Birdman, before her muscles lock up and her breathing stops. He strokes her hair gently and admires his work. She is silent, and he knows he has done a good job. God's work. Packing his utensils back into his bag, he heads back home. He has work tomorrow. Life goes on. Thanks for watching the Assassin Rapper, and if you enjoy the content, then make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of new content. Hello, my name is Jason. The night my life changed, I could sense something was wrong. I knew it was, from the smell of danger that was in the air. I knew there were people in my house. I could feel their presence. I tried to stay calm and relax, as if nothing was wrong, but I knew that I was in danger. I knew any moment that there would be a knock on my door. I couldn't hear speaking. I couldn't even hear breathing except my own, but I knew there were people in my house, and that those people would bring me so much trouble, so much pain. Suppose I could leave now, just walk out that door, or run out that door. But wait, I hear something. Then I heard a knock on the door. There is no point in hiding from what is out to get me. I opened the door and saw a policeman. I was relieved. Then I pulled out my gun and shot the policeman, relieved that at least now I know I have a head start to leave this damn place. I got into my car and drove, knowing I have to change my identity again. Those people I've shot in the head in my home would bring me so much trouble. I know they would. It's a shame I have to do it all again, somewhere else, make friends, throw a party, and kill them all. The rush. Oh, the rush of killing them. Nothing compares to it. But why do the damn police have to always ruin me trying to enjoy my hobby? Thanks for watching the Assassin Rapper, and if you enjoy the content, then make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of new content. Megan was looking through her laptop for some place to live in New York. She knew that it would be very expensive, but she had to move for her new job. She was surprised, shocked and delighted when she saw that there seemed to be an apartment for rent very near where she was going to work. There were no photos of it, but she had to take a look, so that's exactly what she did. When she arrived at the apartment, there was a man opened the door and said to her, "Hello, you must be Megan. My name is Andrew. Well, welcome to the apartment. You can have this for $4,500 a month." She couldn't believe what he just said, so she asked him did he mean $4,500, and he said yes. When she looked inside the apartment, she couldn't believe the size of it for being in central New York and so reasonable. Megan was a pickpocket by choice. She didn't need the money, but she loved the thrill of it. She knew there were people who were kleptomaniacs, but she didn't consider herself one. She preferred to look at it as a cheap thrill. She was down the road from her apartment in a really nice clothes shop and stole a beautiful dress for $1,300. She was buzzing walking down the street, but by the time she got back to her apartment, the buzz was gone. After a few weeks, Megan got to know Andrew. She went to his apartment, which was just across from hers, and they were drinking wine. She noticed that she saw all his apartment, every room bar one, and when she asked about it, Andrew told her that it was his mom who was sick and he was looking after her, and he preferred her not to be disturbed. One night Megan walked into Andrew's apartment and the TV was on. He was asleep on the sofa, and there was this weird horror on the TV with a girl hanging from a ceiling. She coughed a little to wake Andrew. Andrew woke up with a start and put the TV off and said, "Sorry, I was just watching some horror." Megan moved closer and went to kiss him and sneaked the keys from his pocket. She was really determined to see what was in that room. She said to Andrew, "Hey, I'm exhausted, could I just chill out here? But if you could grab a really nice bottle of wine I have in my fridge, I would really appreciate it so much." When Andrew left for her apartment, she quickly tried all the keys until she got the right one and opened the door. She didn't want to wake his mom, but she had to have a look as it all seemed very strange. She froze in horror when what she saw was a woman hanging from a wall. It looked familiar when it finally hit her that it wasn't a horror movie on Andrew's TV. He was watching a live feed of what was happening in this room, and he had a girl tied up hanging from the ceiling with blades on the floor underneath. She heard a noise and turned around to see Andrew holding a knife, and he said, "Don't you know it's very bad to snoop around behind people's backs?" Then Andrew stabbed Megan until she bled to death. Thanks for watching the Assassin Rapper, and if you enjoy the content, then make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of new content. Sam was very disappointed one night when he was out for a walk and happened to come across a restaurant and was stunned to see his girlfriend Judy in there talking to another man. He thought of movies with scenes like this and wondered, was it something innocent, meeting like a platonic relationship and meeting up about work? But his hopes were dashed when she moved towards the man and kissed him on his lips. They weren't in each other's houses yet, not even up towards the door. Sam knew what he would do. He had done it before and got away with it, so there was nothing from stopping him from doing it now. The next day he met her, he made a date for her that night in a local bar. He was talking to her like there was nothing happened, like she was some honest person who would never cheat. But of course he knew himself the opposite was the truth. They were speaking in the bar, and to any outsider, they would have thought they were both enjoying each other's company. Sam was in an upbeat mood, but little did Judy know it wasn't because of her being in her company. It was because of what he had planned to do with her. They both walked home, and it was getting dusk. Sam thought Judy had money because her house was huge, but money wasn't important to him, and anyway, he wasn't even in the house. They weren't even next to each other's door, just back a few yards, as if they were hiding some secret affair. But important to him was truth, honesty, and loyalty more than any money. That was the most important thing Sam could have in any relationship. He kissed her goodnight and walked on. 10 minutes later, he walked past her house and took out his very clever contraption he hid in a bush just down from her house. It was a gasoline can he would throw in her window and torch the house, and when it was ablaze, he would make sure it would go up fast, because beforehand he would have doused the walls as much as he could with gasoline. He wasn't familiar with this neighbourhood, and wouldn't even set foot in it only for Judy. He would have loved to have stood there watching the fire, but he knew he had to wait till the fire engine got there and join a crowd of onlookers and act like a shocked member of the public. 10 minutes later the crowd gathered and the fire engine, but he froze in shock when he saw Judy without a scratch speaking to a man. He then heard a person next to him say to another person, "That must have been a gang hit. That is the house of the biggest gang boss in town. There will be a war break out over this." Sam had just wondered, could it be that Judy was just pretending it was her house to impress him? He found out very soon she lived down the road in a very small house, and realised that sooner or later he will have the town, if not state's biggest gang, after him for the arson attack. Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you enjoy the content, then make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of new content. Jake saw an ad online for a life coach with a guaranteed plan to make their life better in every single way. Jake thought it was just a load of marketing and advertising rubbish trying to sell an idea that clearly wouldn't work in any way. But he was hating his life so much, he thought to himself, what harm would it do? He made an appointment by sending an email, and he arrived in the office the next day. The man introduced himself. "Hello, Jake. Nice to meet you. My name is Robert Sampson. I am very pleased and thankful that you chose to do my course. This is a plan that has been guaranteed to work. Just you wait and see. Your life is going to take a huge turn for the better, and you will be happier than you ever were. You will be happier than you ever imagined. All you need to do is relax and go with the flow of the plan, and you will find that your life is absolutely amazing, and you will finally be able to feel the power of now. you will be able to focus on what you love and who you love, and be able to get rid of all the negative energy that is holding you back. The session lasted for about an hour. Within days, Jake's life had started to get so much better, just like Robert had promised him. He was so happy. He met a new girlfriend called Brooke, and they had a great day out in the carnival. The next day he went swimming, which he loved, but recently hadn't the mind to go. A week later he even joined a band and became the lead singer, which he always dreamt of doing, but didn't have the courage. If that wasn't enough, himself and his new girlfriend Brooke travelled to countries they had only dreamt of going to, but now could afford because of the money that was rolling in from the band's success. Robert was very happy with the progress he was finally achieving. He hated the teething problems with his other subjects, and that was a shame. Those very nice people looking for help only to wind up dead. He felt stupid that he didn't take into account they would die of hunger and thirst. But this was going to be different. He sorted that problem. These pods wouldn't let Jake die like the others who were plugged into the digiverse created to them feel, hear, and see a world that was beautiful and amazing. But these pods should be able to solve that problem. Jake doesn't know either about the digiverse. He doesn't know he's in a pod. If he would, wouldn't he freak out? Of course. Robert looked into the pod at Jake, wondering how his life in the digiverse was going. Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you enjoy the content, then make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of new content.